Now, you'll have to excuse me if I'm a tad bit fired up, if you can sense a little bit of, let's go with frustration on my voice, as I just got done recording one of the more difficult episodes I've ever had to record of any series of mine. So, if you want to know what that, if you want to know what that means, if you want to know what that entails, feel free to check out the episode of A Set Plan that went up alongside this. That said, welcome to another episode. You know the deal. Cincinnati Reds Draft to Glory series. We just completed our second draft at the helm of the Reds. Some solid additions coming our way in the form of Brian Lopez and Sam Wallace. Some decent depth aside from that, of course, joining some of the guys that we ended up drafting last year. The likes of Steven Ryder, who is in our lineup. Michael Chavis, of course, who we picked up in the Rule 5 draft. We're looking okay. That said, that's on paper. Right now, we are absolutely brutal in terms of our team's success, and that is, of course, going to be a theme for years to come. What we will be accomplishing, though, in this episode, on the bright side, is suffering from a lot of injuries, apparently, and if that's the case, then yet again, I'll sim to the end of the year. But what we will accomplish today is going one calendar year. That is pretty much going to be the formula for this series, at least in the early stages, until we start looking like we might be able to make the playoffs, and that is draft to draft. We end an episode with a draft, we begin the next episode by continuing on, going through the Rule 5, and then ending it by going through that next draft. So, if anything, it might not be the worst idea to sit here and just sim through the rest of the season and make a quick cut. Might not be the worst idea, although I do wonder who made it as our one all-star representative. Let's take a look. Last year it didn't matter as much. We had no rookies, but this year, you never know who will make it for us. It might be one of the few veterans that we have left on the team. It's not Ken Giles. I think it is a position player, is it not? Guaranteed that they're on the bench. Albert Pujols. There you go. So Albert Pujols is our one all-star nominee at a 62 overall. How he didn't retire after that first year, I have no idea. But apparently he was good enough to, you know what, that's kind of nice though. His last season, it has to be, he ends up making the all-star game. That's pretty cool. Michael Chavis will be out for a week or two. And again, if the injuries just keep piling up, we may just go ahead and make that jump cut. I'd like to not to, but, you know, at this point, it's not as if we're going to be missing out on much. We're already up to 88 losses on the season. You know what? I'll see you in a moment. Let's make this jump cut. I'll talk to you at the end of the season. We'll do our recap before breezing towards the Rule 5. We may have left the Blue Jays behind, but that doesn't mean that they're not still successful. The Year 2 World Series goes to the Blue Jays. They win it in 6 games over the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's certainly how you know it's a fantasy draft, that those two teams end up in the World Series at the end of our second season. We finished 34 and 128. 128 losses. Absolutely brutal. Let's take a look at the awards and everything else. Michael Chavis actually ended up winning NL Rookie of the Year, which is pretty nice. Postseason MVP was Chris Taylor. Joey Votto for the AL. Joey Votto was also World Series MVP. MVP in general went to Mike Trout and Cody Bellinger, who stayed in Los Angeles. Chris Sale wins back-to-back Cy Youngs. Garrett Cole wins it in the NL. Mookie Betts and Mike Trout with batting titles. Nick Vincent and Tony Watson, reliever of the years. Chavis with, we'll take a look at his stat line. But there you see a 255 average, 19 home runs, and 61 RBIs. Wins the Rookie of the Year. Cody Decker wins it for Minnesota in the AL. Trout and Bellinger win the Hank Aaron Awards. And then, of course, we get into the Gold Gloves. I do want to take a look, though. At the very least, I guess it is too late. I was going to say who the regular season home run king was, but I suppose that's not all that important. What is important is that we take a look at the stat lines for our main players. So we start off, actually here, let's just go into starting pitching in general. Alex Faedo, who was our Rule 5 pickup last year, he's up to a 73, which isn't all that bad. He was playing as our ace this year. 4-17 record, a 3.74 ERA, which isn't as bad as I would have thought it was, given the win-loss record. We also had Gustavo Gonzalez, who's up to a 69 overall. Some good development there. 7-16 record with a 3.58 ERA. We have Sam Wallace as well, who I believe we just drafted. So yeah, those are our only two starters at the moment. Sam Wallace and Roger Samwell will be joining the team soon. In terms of relievers, we have our main three. Of course, we added we didn't add Guillermo Ramos. We added Richie Sorvala in the most recent draft. So we look at Guillermo Ramos, see potential, up to a 63, some decent developments, and the whip is terrible. He didn't have a very good season. Will Vincent as well, 69 overall now at 19 years old. Again, didn't exactly have a strong season. And Bruce Boyle, up to a 67 overall, and again, was quite terrible. At first, we had Will Glover, who has not yet joined the team. We just drafted him. Pull holes, by the way, on what would be his final season. 12 home runs still. It's not too bad. He better retire. At third, we already know that Michael Chavis was Rookie of the Year. He's up to a 71. Improvements across nearly every attribute. And again, you get another look at his stat line. At left field, Ray Rosario, who really struggled injury-wise. Major injury, too, towards the end of the year, a 65 overall. And unfortunately didn't see that much game time. And when he did, it didn't go that well. We added Brian Lopez in the draft, so Steven Ryder is the last one that we have to care about. He's up to a 70. Not too shabby. 19 home runs, 60 RBI with a 2.43 average. And that pretty much does it for us. Although, just in case, I never quite know if people want to get a look. But there you see at least the top players. Take a look in your own time. But there you have the top players from the World Series winning team as opposed to us looking at everything. But with that, we are good to go. To the offseason we go. To the Rule 5 we go. Of course, we're not going to have too much to worry about in terms of contracts. We do lose a lot of players, including Albert Pujols, who should be on his way to the Hall of Fame. And indeed, he is. There you go. Adrian Beltre joins him as well. Albert Pujols retires as a Cincinnati Red. That would be quite weird. As far as the coaching staff goes, we could afford to buy out the rest of these contracts, and I think I will, at least for Don Long. We'll pay the remaining $600K. It's not really an issue. Mac Jenkins at this point, will buy him out. Freddie Benavidez and Charles Perez will buy out all of them. Let's bring in some new staff. So again, outside from the manager and third base coach, we do need help. Is there a coach who doesn't have any minuses? Indeed, Brian Snitker. You know, I'm signing him just for the name. Brian Snitker. Yes. Jesus Christ, how long of a deal could I sign you to? I guess we'll go 4 years, and we'll see how close we are here. Not bad. Pitching coach. Again, is there anyone who doesn't have a minus? Freddie Benavidez. Wait, that's not the same. Oh, he was hired for something else. That's why. Go figure. We have a really good pitching coach not being a pitching coach. That explains it. First base coach we had. So indeed, first base coach and farm director. Let's go ahead and sign durability. You know, durability might be important with the amount of injuries we've seen. Daniel Amoros. We'll see if we can sign him up as well. Try to max out that offer a little bit. We'll go up to $5 million, 1.3 a year. And in terms of a farm director, Ike Brandt. Again, another boost to durability. Decent boost to the hitting stats there. Julian Winkler or Ike Brandt? I'm going to go for Ike Brandt. I like the durability. The durability boost could be extremely helpful. Of course, we could drop the injury slider, which you'd like to think wouldn't be all that necessary, but with how this season's gone, it very well may be. So we'll see how that ends up going. Amoros has gone to the Twins. That sucks. Benavidez has signed back on with us, though. So we'll take a look here. Submitted offers for farm director and hitting coach, so we need to send out another offer for a first base coach. And Johnny Lang or Reggie Who? Let's go for Johnny Lang if we can. And we'll see if we can make that work. We now have the top offer, but I'm going to bump it up all the way to 5. And we'll see if we can get him to sign up. Let's go ahead and move forward. Snitker is on as the hitting coach. Ike Brandt has gone to the Tigers. That is unfortunate. So, Ike Brandt, we have first base coach. We need a farm director. And Tyler Kearns, Quentin Ritchie, also still there. Let's go for the +2. Quentin Ritchie in general is a better option. I'm going to boost that up a little bit more just to try and make sure we get him. We do have the top offer. Lang has gone to the Astros. That sucks. That sucks a lot. Let's go to coaches. So we have the offer out for farm director. We need a first base coach. I mean, regardless, our staff's going to be better than it was. Let's go for Matthew Odom, who has no offers out. So you'd like to think we'd be able to get him. And you know what? I want to make sure. Let's offer him even more. Let's make sure he signs with us. Let's not take any chances. We've already missed out on some pretty good coaching staff members. So, tender contracts. We need to sign Alex Fido, and we'll give him a decent amount of money. Of course, he'll be on the Major League roster next year. Just give him $550. Taylor Clark isn't ours. Gustavo Gonzalez, and actually the one thing that we can do, it's a little bit time-consuming, which is why I'm about to make a jump cut. But I think I'm literally just going to sit here and cut everyone that isn't ours, and in that way, no confusion, nothing, we're good to go. So I'll be back in 1 second. Give me a second, and we'll take care of this. All right, so case in point, here we go. This is it. This is all that we have drafted in the first 2 years, so that way there can literally be no confusion. We just go ahead and tender said offers. So Alex Fido, we are going to have to send you, and actually, in fairness, it's changed. It switched him to renewable contract. I wonder why. That's really weird, actually, that it went ahead and changed that. For the record, free agency, Arenado, Anthony Rizzo, Bogarts, and Jonathan Scope Shop. Let's take a look here. So Alex Fido, buddy, pal of mine. We'll go with exactly that. 2 years at 1.2. Depth roll is fine, because you should be good with it regardless. That's quick and easy. Michael Chavis, to send you a decent offer as well. 2 years at 1.1. Works for me. Steven Ryder, also in the same spot. It's really weird how this has changed, actually. But I'm good with it. Taylor Clark. We got Gustavo Gonzalez. We'll go 2 years. We'll pay him a little bit more than that, with him pretty much guaranteed to be in the rotation. Will Vincent is what I was going to say. Sign him up as well. Bruce Boyle. We'll go 2 years at $700K. And I believe he is the last one. He is not. Ray Rosario. Let's go 2 years at $600K. And we should be fine. So Fido and Gonzalez were both sent offers. Closers. We have offers sent out not to Guillermo Ramos. Got to make sure we cover that as well. So give him like $650. Catchers, we don't have anybody. Will Glover, we don't need to sign. Third base, Chavis has an offer. Lee Wilkins was just drafted. We have Rosario. Of course, Brian Lopez was just drafted. And Steven Ryder. So with that, we are good. Let's move forward. Betances to the Diamondbacks. And we'll double check here. Best players without contracts. So we have some guys who haven't signed yet, but that is what it is. Let's go ahead and move forward. Jeremy Jeffress to the Blue Jays. Quentin Ritchie signed on as our farm director, and Matthew Odom's on as the first base coach. So we do have a better coaching staff, thankfully. Let's go back and double check with some of these offers here. And in fairness, we are fine. So there we go. Everyone else cleared waivers. Everyone else is signed. We are good to cruise towards the Rule 5. Colin McHugh to the Red Sox. We would not like to stop simulating. We are good to go. Bring me straight to the Rule 5, please. Again, one pitcher, one position player. Nolan Arenado to the Giants. The Rays get Anthony Rizzo. Xander Bogarts to the Pirates, who of course just lost in the World Series. Starling Marte to the Astros. And we are just about where we want to be. DD to the Mets. Aaron Hicks to the Rockies. And to the Rule 5 we go. Let's do this. We do get the number 1 pick, of course, which is going to be very helpful. Let's see who we have. So Fernando Romero is still there. 25B and a 73 is not the best option. I'd say Ryan Castellani, 23B and a 70, is probably our best bet, or JB Bukowskis. Oh, man. Castellani or Bukowskis. Both great options, but 3, 23B and 70 rated players. So we're good on that front. There is a 24A and a 69 rated AJ Puck, but I think I'd rather take my chances with the Bs, maybe. But Puck is there, another 23B. So we could get a half-decent starting pitcher, but nobody too crazy. You know, again, 23 is going to be about the youngest, so nobody too crazy there. Getting a better reliever could be nice, though. Durbin Feltman. Durbin Feltman, 23B and a 73 is not a bad option in the slightest. I know we have our closers here, but this could really help establish the bullpen early on. So in terms of a pitcher, it's either Durbin Feltman or we take one of the numerous starting pitchers. In terms of a position player, you have, God, would it be Mabris, Villoria? I'm sorry, you can't blame me for, not knowing as far as that name is concerned. But 23B and a 68, not terrible. 24A and a 66, Pavin Smith. Also not that bad, but a bit more high risk in terms of whether or not he'd actually develop. Villoria might be the better way to go, but neither's necessarily ideal. But we could make it work. At second, Keston Hiura, 23B and a 71. That's not too bad either. In terms of the furthest along, he's by far the best option. At third, nobody really. Ryan Mountcastle is probably the top option there, although Dowell Lugo could work. He is a year older, 2 overall points better than Mountcastle. At shortstop, Eliezer Alvarez and Yu Chang, both of whom could work. So there's options, right? There's options, including Josh Stowers, who might be my favorite option, but we do already have 3 outfielders drafted, so it's not as much of a necessity unless there's like this can't-miss option. Stowers is definitely going to be the best option. Indeed, he is. So we could take another outfielder in Stowers. Ray Rosario is only C potential, in fairness, so we could look to have him as a pinch-running option. So there would be room for a Josh Stowers to make this happen. Play him in left, play like Brian Lopez in center, and Steven Ryder in right. Might not be the worst way to go. So Stowers could work. We could pretty much look to get the outfield sorted. And from there were a couple of other decent options, like, would it be Keston Hiura, I imagine? And then Pavin Smith, who you can't really trust him to develop at this point. 24A and a 66. When you try to combine the words 2 and 24, which I know is hilarious, really. It's kind of what you're stuck with. I gotta be honest, I think I'm gonna go with my gut here. And I'm gonna take a reliever. Durbin Feltman. With that 99 velocity. Let's sign him up and get our first true reliever. We'll take Durbin Feltman. And next up, I'm gonna go with my gut here, and I think I'm gonna go with Josh Stowers. And we're gonna get that outfield pretty much sorted. So there you go. Those are our 2 pickups. Durbin Feltman and Josh Stowers in the Rule 5 draft. Would it have been better to go with a different position player, maybe a starting pitcher over a reliever? Perhaps. But again, we're still in the early stages. I think the big conversation would be whether or not people thought Pavin Smith might develop as David Price is dealt to the Blue Jays again. I'll be intrigued to see the reaction to that and whether or not people thought there would have been a better way to go, as we need to, let's just outright make an offer to Stowers, or not. We can renew or not, screw it. Yeah, let's just outright make an offer. It might be better for him morale-wise. Anyway, sign him to about $650, and he should accept that. Josh, you're making $84K and I'm offering $650. What's the hold up, buddy? Josh? What's the hold up, friendo? Are you serious? What the hell's the matter with you? Renew contract. Submit offer. Sure. I'm just gonna make sure we get him. Alright, well, you had a chance to make more money. You just didn't want to act on it. So, sure. There you go. Welcome to spring training. And we need to take a look at scout contracts because we did have a scout retire already. That was from the West. So between Matthews and Conrath, we need to get rid of one, and I'm going to say it's Conrath who's going to go. So the best scout in the East is probably Tomas Moreno. Collier's not bad. Walter has ridiculous efficiency and discovery. And for that reason, he might be the more well-rounded is Thomas Moreno. I'm going to sign Thomas Moreno. Let's double-check from International. McCall's efficiency is a little bit low. It's actually going to be kind of tough to replace Matthews, and I don't think either can do so. In Central, we have Leach, who will be staying by far over Torres. And in the West, whoops. I made the mistake of East against West. My bad. Regardless, it's an easy fix. And we'll actually be keeping Guardado in the East. So that is fine. I don't think the Western scout I got rid of was too good. And if not, then that's a big-time mistake on my part. And you can feel free to rip me apart in the comments. Yeah, we're going to have to rely on Luis Lombardo this season. I don't know if I accidentally was just looking in the wrong region or if I accidentally fired the wrong scout. Genuinely don't know what happened there, but regardless, our scouts are taken care of. I need to sit here and fill out the roster really quickly, so I'll see you in a moment. Alright, we're good. The roster is set. Let's go ahead and sim to the beginning of the regular season and see what the AI has come up with. Unfortunately, they've put reliever Durbin Feltman as our ace, which is probably not ideal, but we'll go for it. The rotation is made up solely of pitchers that we have drafted one way or another. That is hilarious. Lineup-wise, Will Glover, Josh Stowers, Steven Ryder, Brian Lopez. The lineup is made up nearly of all players that we've drafted. The bottom four are not. Rosario and Wilkins are on the bench as well, as unfortunately. But with how many injuries there are throughout a season, it's just kind of a necessary evil to have the AI have control of the roster, at least until it gets to the point where the roster is predominantly ours, and we want to make sure that all of our top players are getting the time that they need. That said, we'll take a look at the top prospect list before we get too far into it, and our first name comes at number 17, that being Brian Lopez. Do we have anybody else? We do. Sam Wallace, who we just drafted. Great goatee. And he might be the last. And indeed he is. I think that's because of how many players we have on the roster at this point. Their rookie status, of course, expired last year, whereas if this was a normal series, they wouldn't have been on the roster for a long time. That said, let's continue to discover as best we can with some of these scouts. I know I made that mistake early on, either firing the wrong scout or looking at the wrong region. Not exactly the way that I wanted to start things off here, but it is what it is, I do suppose. Like I said, I didn't exactly start off this episode in the highest of spirits for one reason or another. But I am happy with how the Rule 5 went, and of course with the way the first two drafts have gone, I am somewhat optimistic heading into this entry draft. That said, once you get beyond the first 2 years, the draft can be very inconsistent in terms of high-end talent, at least from what I've seen, and you do need to rely on on your first round. From there, it's a complete crapshoot as to whether or not you actually end up finding anybody half decent, and that's going to be the key for us in this series, is having the ability to do so. Let's look at arm strength and fielding among catchers. We'll handle that first, and we'll take it from there. Hopefully we can make some good time in terms of scouting and be right on schedule, as we ended up beating Philly 7-0. We're 3-12 to begin the season. Not exactly setting the world on fire. We'll go power and contact next. Again, hopefully we can find some top-notch players here. Last year's draft was okay, in that the top 2 picks for us were great, but from there, it was a little bit questionable, we'll say. Just a tad bit, in that we ended up with a lot of depth. Beyond the first 2 rounds, we didn't really get much in terms of long-term game changers, and not every pick is going to be that. But it would be nice at some point here to end up getting someone like that. All infielders have been discovered in the West. Man, the West is apparently not going to be all that beneficial to us from what I'm seeing here. Let's actually go arm strength and speed. And then infield will be fielding and speed. Gotcha. Since we can't keep it uniform, there's always one scout who's got to finish scouting out a certain amount of prospects before everybody else does. Infield, we have arm strength, speed, fielding, and speed. Let's go power contact. Power contact. The outfield will have fielding and speed. And you'll go power contact. Beautiful. As we continue to win some games here and there. The fact that we have 5 wins already is pretty surprising. Again, when our ace is a goddamn reliever. Let's see. Let's go with arm strength and speed. Outfield, arm strength and speed. And we are going to have Lombardo already, who's already discovered all outfielders. So let's start assigning you to players. And Guardado, outfield, arm strength, and speed, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we went power and contact. So, arm strength and speed. There you go. Almost there. We are 41 days out from our next draft. I don't know if we went... I think we went fielding and speed already. We might not have. That might have been ahead with Lombardo. So, that's why I'm trying to be a little bit cautious here. Trying to make sure I don't make a mistake. Trying to make sure, in both a positive and a negative way, by scouting out a region or for a specific thing that I don't necessarily need to. So we've done arm strength. Let's go power contact. Power contact. You can take a look at Doug Sanchez, and you can go power contact. And then we'll have everyone working on prospects. So there we go. Let's continue the 2-day at a time trend. We'll avoid Blanco and Diaz. Let's take a look at Bobby Wade. Peter Snead, I'm going to avoid for the moment. We're going to look for 20-year-old players and under, unless they are due to be MLB ready that much sooner. As we fall to 7-23. It's going to be a long damn time before you see us with a winning record. But that's a part of the fun. It's what players are we going to find here that can somehow manage to turn this franchise around. So take a look at Leo Hoover. Blanco, of course, we'll still avoid. Let's take a look at Richie Muller. And Abraham Chavis as well. Why not? Why not to start off? Aquino's back. A couple of losses to the Cubs. Alden Ricks. We're going to avoid you for the moment. We'll take a look at this dude whose name I don't dare try to pronounce. Chen and Farrar aren't worth it. And we know what, we can't afford to just be like, whatever, we'll take a look. Nah, we gotta be on point here. Chavis and Boggs we'll take a look at later if we have time. Let's take a look at Balladares, McConnell, and Murray Pina. That works for me as we are a month out from the draft. Garrett Deaton, hurt down in AAA. Not one of our players, though. So we don't have to worry about it. Let's actually get a full report on Chavis here. Why not? Paul Lopez, Blanco we're avoiding, Farrar we're avoiding, Ricks we're avoiding. We'll take a look at Rodriguez, and we'll get a full report there on that starting pitcher. Why the hell not? As we get absolutely crushed by Kansas City in a midweek series. Muller, we'll get a full report. Wilkerson as well. I was going to wait, but at this point, we might as well try to get as much exact info as we can. Eric Boggs as well, the reliever. It should only take one more day for all of them to at least get close to an accurate report. Who else do we have available here? We'll continue to avoid those guys at the top. We have Barry Callahan. Is there anybody else? Pablo Arellano, I believe it would be. I'm terrible with that surname. Same thing in FIFA, to be honest. Benitez, Hong, Vasquez, well, I'll avoid. Henry Shipman, the catcher. And we'll take a look at Mario Trujillo, the second baseman. We'll see how that goes. We lose 2 games to the Dodgers. No surprise there. Who else do we have here that's worth scouting out? Let's find out. Miguel Shashin. We'll take a look at David Estrada. Frank Abreu, and Jimmy Waylock. So a near handful of relievers. You know what? Because I feel like we're scouting a lot of relief pitchers. Are we good for catchers? I guess we are good for 80 catchers. Of course, we want to prioritize the 80 grades. And right now, it's looking like we have the majority of them scouted. To be honest, we're going to be going down to 75s here fairly quickly. Let's go one more day to get exact reports on these guys, hopefully. Currently scouting. Yeah, we at least have them a little bit higher. Non-exact reports, but that's fine. So let's take a look. Are there any other 80s here, really? And that appears to not be the case. Right. So we'll get a full report on Russell Michael. Is there anybody else? We'll take a look. Chen, 3 years away at 22. We'll avoid him. And then for close, we're going to be focusing on 70 rated or 75 potential guys now. So we'll start off with James Sweat, Sam Weston at catcher. And let's get a full report on Barry Callahan. And it won't take 2 days to get the full report on Callahan, but we'll sim the next two anyway. And let's see, we'll just keep going position by position here. Other 75s. We'll go for Darryl Jones. Tino Ramos would be 25 at the earliest by the time he's ready. So I'm not really feeling that at first. Orlando Calero we'll take a look at. And nobody else at second. Nobody at third. We'll take a look at Johnny Belcher. Belcher is an interesting one. You know, we'll take a look at him anyway. I don't think he's going to be worth drafting. We'll also take a look at Josh Cruz for that reason, just because it's looking like we're going to be low in terms of position players that we're going to be able to find here that actually end up being half decent. At third, yeah, Cruz dropped significantly. At shortstop, there's nobody. In left, we have Lee Yang, who we'll take a look at. In center, we got Farrar, I guess. He's 3 years away at 22. That still kind of scares me. Let's take a look at Ronald Koch, Coach Koch, Eric Gray, and Robin Jacob. In fairness, the latter of the two are down into the 70 range. So either our scouts just haven't really done that well of a job, or it's already looking like it could be a rough draft. We're just over 2 weeks out, and I don't know how the hell I feel about our chances. We'll take a look at Brian Blanco. Take a look at Ronnie Cassidy, Jody Mott, and that's that. So let's go back to pitchers here. In terms of 75s, there are a couple. We'll take a look at Paul Guerrero. For the hell of it, 13 days out, and in terms of optimism, I don't know if I have any. This is going to be interesting. 3 years out at 22 for Singletary, so we'll avoid him. 2 years out at 23 for Song, we'll avoid scouting him the rest of the way. We move to actual relievers, where there are quite a few. Let's try to get a full report on some of these guys. This might be a half-decent draft for relievers, as it appears. 11 days out, and feeling the pressure to get this final bit of information. We'll take that look at Peralta. We'll get a look at Sonny De Silva, Brian Quintero, and Pedro Barrios. Yeah, this could be a solid draft for relievers. So we win 8-1 and then lose 11-1 the next day. That sounds like a team of this caliber, doesn't it? Alright, so in terms of relievers, we're pretty much good to go for 75s. And the majority of our time spent for the remainder of this may be spent on scouting starting pitching, because that's where it's looking the more beneficial. So we'll spend the next 9 days or so scouting out starters, and we'll see how that goes for us. We'll avoid Snead and Blanco. We'll take a look at Velasquez. Let's take a look at Warren Minor. Is there anybody else? De Los Santos and Estrada. And I could not tell you how well this draft is going to go. I'm very worried now that I look at a lot of the info here on these players. Let's take a look at Anthony Molina. Take a look at Harold Cox, 22. Casey Diaz, even though he's up there in age. And Garrett Coggin. We'll be 3 days out from the draft here. This is our second to last batch of scouting in terms of who we're going to be able to find. We're not going to look for complete reports. We're just going to see what players we can get info on. The likes of Joe Bailey. Is there anybody else? Now we're out of 75s from here, so I think we might go to position players. And in terms of 70s, you know what? Let's look at all. Let's look for the lowest ETA and 70s. So we have Broderick Pineda alongside Vargas, Damian Montag, and we'll also take a look at Felipe Peralta, the catcher. Let's go 1 day at a time just to see if we get any closer to finding the info here. So again, the lower ETA. We'll at least try to get yellow bar info on some of these guys. We'll take a look at Walter Stewart. Darryl James is down to a 65, but we'll still take a look. Pineda, I want a little bit more information on. It's a bit too low. And Willie Wright, maybe. Let's go for Cal Goldstein as a 70. He is 23 as well. Don't think he's going to be that good. As Marco Pedrosa's out with a broken hand. He's not one of our guys, though, so we don't have to worry about it. I mean, even if it is one of our guys, we don't have to worry about it, but you get the point in terms of like, oh no, a prospect's missing time and we care about his development. That's not the case. We'll take a look at Abdul McClellan. I think I'm going to rely solely on position players here. Brian Quo. Let's take a look at, we got info on Goldstein and James. Let's take a look at, is there anybody else? Well, 2021s. I guess we'll take a look then at non-position options. Let's go for Person, and Alfredo Ramirez. This is going to be a very, very strange draft. Sandberg, Alonso, Willie Wright, and Andreas Ramirez will be our final couple of players scouted. Before we get into the draft and recap, or before we get into this draft and end the episode, let's recap. I'm off my game today. It is what it is. Let's recap what's happened with the team thus far. Alex Fido is 1-8 with a 5.34 ERA, but he is up to a 76 overall, which is tremendous. I wish Pavin Smith was a year or two younger. It would have been that much better. But good development from Fido. Sam Wallace is up to a 70. 5.83 ERA. Gustavo Gonzalez as well, 5.59 ERA, but he's up to a 72. And Roger Samwell, so all four of our starters are in, and Samwell's getting absolutely hammered. It's a 65 overall. In the bullpen, Richie Sorvala has been terrible, but he's up to a 66. You have Guillermo Ramos, now at a 69 overall. Will Vincent at a 74, so some decent development there. Bruce Boyle at a 71, and Durbin Feltman a 74. So there you go. That is every single reliever or pitcher in general. At first base, we have Will Glover, who's up to a 60. Not bad for a C potential guy. Having a pretty damn good season, though. Only 211 at-bats, but a 3.03 average on the year. Michael Chavis, Rookie of the Year last year, 2 home runs, 16 RBIs, a 237 average. He's up to a 71 overall. And Lee Wilkins, also in the majors, has a 290 average, but very limited appearances for the 56 overall third baseman. In left, Brian Lopez looking good, up to a 75, has a 256 average this season. Josh Stower is our Rule 5 pickup, has a 267 average on the year, and is a 73. And Ray Rosario, a 71, not all that prolific at the plate. On the right-hand side, Steven Ryder, 5 home runs, 27 RBIs, a 239 average, up to a 75 overall. So our first ever pick, and it's looking like it could go well for us as he continues to develop. That said, it is time to add some more players. We get the number 1 pick, of course. We have a competitive balance pick between the first and second round, and we can hopefully make the most of that. So let's do it. The number 1 pick in this draft, the pressure will be on. Of course, people telling me to look out for the blue chip options, but again, for me, I'm not going to take a blue chip option unless the attributes are there to back it up. That's the only way. I'm not going to, because I've seen way too many players have great potentials but are so low in overall that they're never going to make it. And those are the players that we've been pointing out already in the series. That said, we are still going to start with one Jason Hager, who is tremendous for the most part. Control and velocity, a little bit low, but with high injury risk, we're going nowhere near him. Joel Pedroza, not bad. He's okay at the plate, but he's 22 and 4+ years away, so that's just not going to happen, whereas Jason De Los Santos is at least 24+ years away. Contact's okay, power's okay, vision discipline okay, fielding, arm strength, definitely a fielding first option, but nothing too special, and I wouldn't say worthy of the number 1 pick. He might have really good potential, but in terms of attributes, he's going to be way down there. I'm thinking like 50s. I mean, he's 20, and he's 4+ years away. It's going to take him longer than that to be close to Major League ready. So he's the best option thus far, at least. He has that going for him. Garrett Coggin, too many 60s to be a number 1 pick, unfortunately. Frickin' decent pitch selection there, though, for a breaking ball guy. Abraham Chavis, 60, a 55, a 50. No, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. Walks control happened to be too low. We didn't scout Alden Ricks. We do have Luis Carmona, the catcher. Decent contact, power, discipline, and vision. Again, nothing too special. At least to start. Could have the really good potential, though. I'd say right now it's probably him as my number 1 pick over Jason De Los Santos, who is probably a bit further along, but is also 2 years older. So Carmona is probably my favorite right now. And then we have Bobby Bloom, and Bobby Bloom has some ridiculous contact, some pretty damn good power, vision, and Bobby Bloom. Bobby Bloom right now is looking like the number 1 pick. Decent, like well-rounded for the most part, great at the plate, first, second, and third base options for the 18-year-old. Yeah, Bobby Bloom right now by far is the favorite. It's going to take a lot to overcome that. Doug Dutton is 22, so that's not going to happen. Lewis Cahill, nope. Nope, the fielding is okay, but nope, you need to prove that you're good at the plate. Rich Link, ooh, in fairness, Rich Link is really good, but Bobby Bloom still wins out because we have closers already. So Rich Link's going to end up being great. We're talking like 85 overall within a couple of seasons at most, but I think we still have to go for Bobby Bloom. DeMarcus Gillespie, we're going to avoid. Could you imagine, though, if Rich Link falls to later in the draft? And then you have the likes of Barry Callahan. But at this point, I don't think we have to look through everybody else. Bobby Bloom is the pick. By far. That's not even a discussion. So there you go. We don't have to look through the 75s and the 70s. Bobby Bloom is the guy. He has the blue chip as well, for those that care. He's looking great. Please tell me, and unfortunately, where did Rich Link go? 9th to Baltimore. That sounds about right. I think we made the right choice with Bobby Bloom, though. I'm really excited to see how good he is. I will be super disappointed if he's not all that good. As we need to take a look here. Actually, we'll stay by potential for the moment. And I'd like to take a look at Michael Chen, but we don't have any info on him. What about Ronald Julio, who, he's not bad outside of the hits and Ks. He's okay. That wouldn't be a terrible pick. Kenny Clark, same thing. Kenny Clark's even better, if you can trust it, but only the Ks are low in terms of the hits. Has great stamina too. So Kenny Clark right now, as it stands, is the pick. George Velasquez, absolutely not. Jody Mott, the right fielder, unfortunately not. We'd still go for Kenny Clark in that instance. Warner Minor, no, Clark still wins out. Doug Sanchez, 21 4+ years away. We'll avoid that. But Broderick Pineda can take a look at. Ooh, Broderick Pineda. Damn. All right, so we have some good starting pitching options. We'll actually have to take a look between Pineda and the other option there. Eric Boggs as a reliever, not bad, but I like the starting pitching options better. Victor Balladares, Also not that bad. Wow. So there are some really good starters, which means I'd prefer to take a position player here, and we'll still be very likely to get one of those starters. Henry Shipman. Hello, Henry Shipman. 18 years old. Look at the contact, the vision, the discipline, the arm strength, decent blocking. Henry Shipman is the pick as it stands. I know he's down in the 70s, though, so we'll take a look at the rest of the 70s. But Henry Shipman's the pick here, and then we take a starter at the beginning of the second round as it stands. Theodore Cross, not terrible. Could be a good pick later on if he falls, but the starters are better, as is Shipman. Brian Blanco. Holy hell. Brian Blanco is also looking pretty good. We need Shipman more than Blanco, but if Blanco's still there, I might take him over a starting pitcher. What about Ronnie Cassidy? Ronnie Cassidy's not bad either. Good contact, vision, and discipline. Okay, so we got some good outfielders, some good starting pitching options still available. Holy shit, Darryl James. Okay. Here's the thing. It's not a completely accurate report, but between Blanco, Cassidy, and Darryl James especially, I wish there was more accuracy to that. He looks too good to be true. He looks too good to be true. Oh my god. So does Carl Gold. Oh my god. Okay, again, I wish I had more accurate reports now. Carl Goldstein as well looks too good to be true. He's 23, so I almost believe that he's that good, and that just his potential is going to be poor. So he's going to be like a 73, but he's going to have like D potential, which will ruin him. Ahmad Kovalenko, the power. Oh my god. Oh my goodness, the options that we have here. And I will be kicking myself if I make the wrong one. Willie Peralta, not bad, but we have at least more enticing options than to take relievers right now. Alberto Alonso. Too many 60s to really care. There are some ridiculous options. Are we done with 70s? We are. Okay, so there's a lot of starters who represent good options. Henry Shipman looks pretty damn good as a catcher. Pretty damn good as a catcher. Cal Goldstein looks pretty damn good as a shortstop, but again, I can't help but think it's going to be high overall and a low potential. And then these guys in right, Jesus. Jody Mott, meh. Ronnie Cassidy has really good contact, vision, and discipline. He's a decent outfielder with some good speed and stealing, as Darryl James has ridiculous contact, vision, and discipline, ridiculous fielding, ridiculous speed. There's no way that can be true. Ryan Blanco, same thing, also ridiculous, and Kovalenko is also ridiculous. So to me, the choice is fairly obvious. We take a catcher here, and then we look to get either the shortstop or the outfielders next. I'm worried about Cal Goldstein, though. And those outfielders look ridiculous. There's normally good starting pitching every year, so I'm not too upset to miss out. But I'm going to go for Shipman. And I don't even know how I feel about it, to be honest. I feel like it's a little bit of a risk, but we're going to take Henry Shipman with that next pick. Ronnie Cassidy is off the board as an outfielder. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. I'm going to trust my gut about Cal Goldstein. Even though we could arguably, we do need a shortstop above another outfielder. Damn. Some of these guys look ridiculous. James, Blanco, and Kovalenko all look ridiculous. Again, for me, it's still more about taking the best available. Kovalenko's power looks insane. I'm torn right now between drafting for need, in which we don't necessarily need another outfielder. We have Lopez, Stowers, and Ryder, but it'd be nice to take Goldstein to have a shortstop. Okay, here's the thing. This is a decision where you could look back on this and be like, man, you screwed up. And I know. But I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to take Goldstein. And we're going to hope that one of the three, James, Blanco, or Kovalenko, make it to the next round, if not one of these starting pitchers that were there earlier. But I'm going to take Goldstein. It's a move I have a feeling I'm going to regret, but it's no different than, say, Kovalenko being 23 and having really good grades. God, those extra compensation rounds. Blanco is off the board. Shit. Blanco's off the board. Lopez was off the board. We weren't as concerned about him. I think Kovalenko's still there. He is. Let's take a look here. Kovalenko and Darryl James are both still there. I don't regret it. I don't regret it. So let's take a look here. We have Sam West. I want to take a look more at accuracy. No, I don't want to draft Nick Foster. Thank you. Let me just take a look. I know we already took a catcher. Did I make the right choice in terms of who we had available? Hello, Felipe Peralta. Jesus. Oh, you know, in fairness, Felipe Peralta's looking pretty damn good. He might have been worth taking, actually. Is there anybody else? Shortstops, Leo Hoover. Not so much. Brian Quo isn't that bad. Out of Michigan. Wouldn't have thought. Alright, so taking another catcher or another shortstop isn't the worst idea, based on their ratings. We're definitely going to take Kovalenko or James. Montag as well is looking good, but he has high injury risk. So we'll risk it with Kovalenko or James next. There are still some starters as well who look pretty good. And some relievers who look pretty good. So we're going to take one of these two outfielders. We'll look at starting pitching next, or potentially another shortstop or catcher. But between James and Kovalenko, the fact that James is so much younger, he has better contact, but the power lies with Kovalenko. Better vision and discipline for James, better fielding, better arm strength. I think it's going to be James. The fact that he's younger and has Kovalenko beat everywhere except for the power game. I mean, I like a long ball hitter. This is a tough call. I think we have to go for James, though. I think we have to. But Kovalenko, that power is reliable, man. At least a little bit more reliable in terms of accuracy. Damn it. I have a feeling we're only going to be able to get one as well. So again, Peralta wasn't bad. Quo wasn't bad. James or Kovalenko. I'm going to go with James. He's the better player overall. Darryl James is the pick. If Kovalenko is still somehow on the board, he is not. He was drafted by, I believe, Tampa or the Dodgers. He went to the Dodgers. We'll see if I screwed up on that one, taking Darryl James over Ahmad Kovalenko. I feel like I might have, but I trusted Darryl James as being the more well-rounded player. For catchers, Peralta still available. The shortstop, Brian Quo, is still available. Oh, God, excuse me. So, in terms of, yes, it put them side by side. Let's take a look. So, better contact for Peralta. Better power for Quo. Better vision and discipline, advantage Peralta. Better arm for Quo, but kind of a difference maker. I think we go for Brian Quo at shortstop. Unless there is a starting pitcher or a reliever who just can't be denied. And in fairness, a couple of 60s for Walter Stewart. He's not terrible. Do we have any starters that are a bit more reliable? Velasquez, 70s, 55 and a 60. Workman, way too low. Doug Sanchez, way too low. Casey Diaz is a bit too low as well. Andres Ramirez, absolutely not. And then from there, so yeah, we're going to avoid pitchers the rest of the way. I'm going to trust that Brian Quo is the better option, or Quo, whatever it would be. I'm going to trust he's the better option. Peralta ended up going, I believe, to the Mets or the Orioles. He went to the Mets. So, 50-50 chances. We'll see if we made the right decisions down the road. And we might as well, Damian Montag, we might as well take the risk with him, even if he ends up being a decent pinch hitting option for the contact. So let's take Damian Montag. And even with high injury risk, if it's high enough, like if it's not in the 20s, if it's in the 40s, you can train that up to a half decent level. And then our final pick here, it really doesn't matter. I feel like taking relievers here normally works out quite well. And for that reason, we are going to go for Chris Curtis, just for the hell of it. This is the first real interesting draft where I'm wondering how badly we may have screwed up. There's a really good chance of it. Let's go ahead and find out our draft picks this year. Oh, boy. Okay. Well, I did say I had a feeling this draft had the potential to be poor. That said, I feel like we absolutely made the right choice in selecting Bobby Bloom, number 1 overall. 18 years old, 67 overall with 94 A potential. So at least we didn't screw up the pick that we really couldn't afford to not screw up. We get Bobby Bloom. He is a monster. He will be signed for obvious reasons. At least we didn't screw that pick up, right? We have that going for us. That said, Henry Shipman will be signed, but he's not exactly the game changer that we were hoping for. Good contact, good vision. Like, he's going to be a solid catcher, but he's probably not going to be an all-star. So we'll sign him as well. It's not a bad pickup, but it's not a great one. And then from there, swing and a miss is the story. I was right about Goldstein. Decent overall, terrible potential. Had a feeling I was right. I had to take the risk, though. We will still sign him. He is still useful to us, but he has a short shelf life. He's going to start declining sooner rather than later. Darryl James, same thing. 68 overall, pretty goddamn ridiculous, but unfortunately a D potential. We'll still sign him as well. Could be a pinch running specialist for us for years to come, but in terms of even C potentials, we have unfortunately found no luck. Brian Quo, unfortunately, being that low of an overall, I don't really think he has much use for us. Just a decent runner. We won't sign him. Damian Montag, though, for the hitting ability. Actually, no, we're just going to sign everybody, I think. I think we're going to sign everybody. We might as well. Quo doesn't have that much use to us, but we'll still sign him up for the year as opposed to just outright dropping him. Damian Montag as well will be signed. I mean, again, as a pinch hitting option, he's certainly there. We'll take a look at his durability, which is a 23, unfortunately. And then Chris Curtis ended up being a swing and a miss. We actually won't sign him. It's not... fuck it, we will. We will. I mean, he's not going to be around for that long, but we'll sign him for the moment. So, outside of Bloom, that was rough. We'll see how other teams did, though, especially in terms of drafting players that I was interested in. Richie Muller, not bad, but I'd rather have Bloom. Peter Sneed as well, I think, or Peter Sneed was one of the guys we could have taken over Shipman, so that's a bit of a swing and a miss, but he is a slightly low overall for a 21-year-old. And in terms of Orlando Santana, again, he's 68, but he's 23, so he might live up to that B potential. Garrett Coggins, okay, but I'm happy with who we have. Brian Blanco, who was someone we were looking at, ended up not being all that great, really. James Horvath, way too low of an overall for him to actually develop. And then Luis Flores, kind of similar. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to pay attention to names that we were tempted to draft. If I don't point out a player whose potential intrigues you, let me know, and I'll respond down to the comments below and let you know what you may have missed out on if something doesn't catch my attention. Victor Valadares would have been a decent C starter, who we ended up passing on. Luis Carmona. We took Bloom over him, and I feel like that's the better option, because both are A potentials, but, I mean, Bloom is 20 overall points better than Carmona, so we made the right choice there. Alden Ricks is someone I wanted to avoid, and that was the right call. Ricky Workman would have been a good pickup, though, however. I don't see anybody there. Sandberg is someone I was considering. And at the very least, too, you guys are getting a look at how some of these other guys developed, or how, some of these other teams drafted, and the answer for a lot of them is still not well. A decent C potential starter there. And Kovalenko does have decent power, but also, much like the shortstop Goldstein, D potential. So a very limited ceiling. They do get a solid B potential starter in Joe Bailey, though, later on. I'm a little bit jealous. Is there anybody else? Jason Hager. Again, right now I'm only looking for names that we were interested in. So if I miss anybody that's interesting to you, let me know. Rich Link, I knew it. 74, A potential, but we made the right choice still. Sonny De Silva could have been decent for us as a C guy. Jody Mott, we should have taken. He's only a 45. He's got a long way to go to actually develop, but he would have been a little bit better. Alonso as a C potential guy is pretty good as well. Red Sox didn't take anybody I was interested in, nor did the Yankees. Broderick Pineda, solid C starter, nothing too special. Tampa with nobody I was interested in, I don't believe. Toronto, same thing. Johnny Belcher, that's about it. Johnny Belcher, did he have a blue chip tag, or was he like a high listed guy? He was one or the other. Nobody there for me. Cleveland, De Los Santos would have been a decent C potential guy. So, all in all, this doesn't appear to have been a great draft across the board. Yeah, look at Gillespie, number 2 pick. Thank God we didn't go for that. Thank God. That said, this does not appear to have been the greatest draft, to say the least. A lot of teams with a bit of a swing and a miss, and from what I can tell, from what I've seen, we should have taken Ronnie Cassidy. I think, did we not have the chance to take Ronnie Cassidy over Henry Shipman? I think we did, and that's a massive swing and miss. Ronnie Cassidy is what we were hoping for Darryl James to be. God damn, that's a great steal for Minnesota. It's a great steal for Minnesota, but you get the point. Other teams, I mean, yeah, look at the Angels. At least we got somebody, right? At least we did something with some of these selections. Leo Hoover ended up not being all that great. I'm perfectly fine with how we did in this draft. Some players already that we pointed out ended up being pretty damn good that it would have been nice to have, but you can't bat 1,000. I think all things considered, we did pretty damn well for ourselves. Bobby Wade, Felipe Peralta ended up only being a C, but he is a 71. Jesus, so Felipe Peralta is actually pretty good. He could have been a really good 1-2 punch with Henry Shipman, but it wasn't meant to be because I done goofed. But at the very least, Bobby Bloom is going to be something special. He'll be joining the likes of Steven Ryder and company on this squad for years to come. That said, we're ending it. We've gone through a full calendar year. Of course, we are going to be nowhere near the playoffs anytime soon. In the next episode, we do it all over again. We go from this draft to the next. We stop at the exact same time next year. We'll see what kind of player development we get. And needless to say, I'm excited to see what Bobby Bloom can do. But for the rest of them, they're just kind of stopgaps to help make this, to help make the lineup and the roster a little bit better. But overall, it's going to be nothing too special. And that said, thank you guys very much for watching. It's appreciated as always. I hope you did enjoy. Like I said, let me know down in the comments below if there's any prospect you are interested in having me look at, so that you know the attributes and such. And yeah, pretty much covers it. You know the deal. Check out everything in the description if you haven't already. Like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell and do all that fun stuff. And I'll see you guys next time.